Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I've got a couple of terrifying encounters that I'm looking forward to sharing with you. Before we get into these encounters, though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch to help this channel to continue to grow and go. All of those links are in the description below. I also have a second channel for creepypasta, fanfiction, and scary voice acting. Stories that, well, they just don't fit on this channel. Now, if that's anything that you're into, follow that link and give those stories a listen. You may just like what you hear. Now I've taken enough of your time. Let's get on with today's upload. Shall we? Today's first encounter. While driving from Colorado to California, my wife and I drove through Four Corners at about 3 in the morning. I'm weird, so I like to drive at night and through odd routes. So we took Highway 160. Once we got to Tiknas Pass, we could either turn right to continue onto 160 or go left. Before getting to the intersection, I seen the sign stating Shiprock, New Mexico was to the right, so I decided I wanted to head that way. I was an avid reader of Tony Hillerman's book series about the Navajo police officer. The stories mostly took place in Shiprock, so I had a major urge to drive through it. Well, once I got to the intersection, a huge dog appeared out of nowhere and started to block my car. I tried to go around it and make the left turn, but it snarled at me and started to block my car further. So I acted like I was going to make the right-hand turn, and the dog backed off. Well, me being me, decided, fuck this, and tried to make the left to Shiprock. When the dog charged at my car and was now growling the most vicious growl I'd ever heard from a dog. Well, I tried the trick again and the dog backed off. Well, the last time I tried to make the left, the dog sat in front of the car and wouldn't budge. It was at this time I said, fuck this noise, I'm making the right-hand turn. I was able to go without any further issue from the dog. My wife was somewhat freaked out and she said, what the hell was wrong with that dog? I told her that was no dog. That was a damn skinwalker. I'd hate to think what would have happened if I forced the left-hand turn. Today's second encounter. So this story is from a few years ago, but me and my mother remember every single detail of what happened. I really need some advice. I was almost 100% sure I saw a skinwalker, but the location doesn't add up. So when I was about 7th or 8th grade, me and my mom were driving home from a therapy appointment of mine. No, nothing for being schizoid, or just depressed and such. It was winter and a full moon because I remember the snow glowing under the moon. It was only 6, but really dark out because, it's the middle of winter. So we're going about 55 miles an hour when this thing crosses and stops right in front of us. The only way I can describe it is that it was if you combined a deer, a dog, and a human. It stood as tall as our windshield, and its legs of what I can describe as a deer. Its back was hunched over and walking on all fours. But it had the head of a dog, but its eyes were white, and it didn't have a tail. The freakish thing about this creature was its skin. It wasn't a canine with mange or anything. It had actual human skin, all the way down its legs. Too long to be dog legs. It smelled of rotting meat, and some parts of the flesh were broken open like if you would scrape your knee. It was pale white, and you could see its veins. And this thing was fast, like it stood there and just ran across the road in a blink of an eye. My mom and me had to pull over and calm down. We both saw it. This happened in southeastern Ohio between Gallipolis and Athens. I haven't seen the creature since, but it still haunts me to this day. And on the highway, I'm scared I'll see it again. Today's third encounter. I may seem out of my mind, and I feel like it. The first night I heard it was the end of summer 2019. I was building my own art studio in the back of this old building. One night I stepped out onto the back deck to clean up. I was staring off into the woods that ran right up next to the stairs leading up to my studio. I heard something let loose this immense, deep howling off in the distance. It had such a blood-curdling effect on the air around me, it gave me goosebumps and raised every hair on my body. And shortly after, it went silent. I heard all the dogs in a 1 to 2 mile radius barking, yipping, and howling in the direction of the roar or howl. There was no way this was a wolf or any large cat. I've heard videos and sound bites of wild cats, mountain cats, making those demonic-type sounds, and this wasn't it. This was a roar of a human-animal mix. I could hear it in its voice. The area of Ohio I am in isn't the place where you'd see any large cat, let alone hear one. My first thought was, that's the Wendigo coming to get me. I don't know why that popped into my head like that, and a countless other number of things have been happening more and more. Almost like intuition or something in my head. 4 weeks prior to the weirdest shit I've ever experienced, I was approached by a man about commissioning 3 art pieces of something I wasn't familiar with at all. Wendigos. More specifically, a wartime Wendigo, where it's huge, 1,000-foot tall creature, taller than a building or skyscraper, and it's made out of all of us, body parts sticking out all over, a face here and there. It was supposed to represent all of our greed and desire or want for more. Sadly, I didn't have the time to work on these pieces, so I passed. But it started to remind me of my own monster that had been following me my whole life. I made some drawings of night terrors I had a week before this man approached me to turn us into a Wendigo. In my dream, it was a tall, emaciated creature with an animal-like body, features legs and human-like arms, crouching in my kitchen like a dog would sit, looking in my cabinets. "What the hell are you doing, dude?" I asked. "Chill the fuck out, I'm looking for some chips or something, I'm starving," it replied. I sat up quickly and threw the blankets off of myself because I didn't say that out loud. It turned to look at me, and the way it looked was indescribable, but I took in every detail I could. It had large black holes where the eyes were supposed to be, and just a jagged slit across the lower side of its face that represented a mouth with no lips, and thousands of rows of jagged teeth curled around its gums, with a long tongue sliding out between them. It let out this gurgling, squelching scream, then all of a sudden black smoky tendrils shot out where its hair was supposed to be on its head, lingered for a second, and sucked back in towards its body, then boom, it vanished. I made drawings of it as soon as I woke up, and was trying to piece together as why it was in our kitchen, and every hair on my body stood on end, because I had unanswered emails about still commissioning some artwork based on it. Fast forward to June 2020. Corona has taken over the world, and I'm sure I've lost my mind. I forgot about it all, and I'm hanging out with my friend 3 a.m, hanging out with a friend after months of not seeing or talking to anyone, it seemed. We went out to White Castle for a quick bite. She walks out first and hits the bottom step as I'm walking out and locking the door. I hear something breaking tree limbs, crashing through them. Not fast, but not slow, but definitely noticeable. And it was coming from up high and gradually getting louder as it neared us, and it was getting lower. It reminded me of an orangutan or gorilla, the way it swung from each branch, and I could hear its hands gripping each one and snapping smaller limbs on its way. It was coming in our direction. I tried to shake it off, telling myself I'm crazy, until she turned around quick and was looking up high into the trees. She asked me, "Do you hear that?" I turned white and had felt the air get heavier from the fear that was emanating from this thing. As I came down the stairs, she's staring into the trees, looking upwards. I glanced and saw branches moving. I yelled at her to get out and get here quickly, pulling her towards the direction of the car. We turned our backs to the woods when this loud thwack landed just behind me, and all the hairs on my body stood straight up. I felt like it had a log or a large, thick branch in its hands and smacked the ground with it. I stood paralyzed in fear. The air was thicker and different when whatever it was landed directly behind me. I could feel the air of the force of it, and it brought tears to my eyes. It was the weirdest feeling to have come over me, and it felt like it was crushing every inch of my body without touching me. And it hurt so bad it brought tears to my eyes and made me shake uncontrollably. And the fear it made me feel was too much to bear. Hands down, one of the scariest moments I've ever encountered. I couldn't shake it, so we went to White Castle, and we were both shook to our core. I'm in disbelief at what we had just witnessed. We came back and turned the brights on in her car and let them light up the woods for a good 20 minutes before we felt it was safe to go back inside. The only weapon I had in sight was a golf club. She told me she saw it high in the trees, and that it looked like almost an owl-like creature with weird features. But later on, she told me a story when she was a teenager. She thought she was going to get taken off the back of a motorcycle by a huge owl swooping down towards her. And I told a friend about this a few months later and somehow remembered whatever these things are. They fed off our fear. I don't know where I remembered this from or why these thoughts randomly pop in my head. It's almost like something else is telling me. Since then, there has been a whole lot more weird shit that's happened. I put a lot of pieces together in this story so far, and a few weeks later, something else happened at my friend's house one night. We were playing music. It's something that has made me vow never to step foot in the woods anywhere ever again. I'll share that story a little bit later when I'm ready to talk about it. As of right now, I am still shook. Thanks, guys. Today's fourth part of the upload is a newspaper article I stumbled across from South Carolina, posted August 1st, 1989. Lawrence, a variety of varmin deck the walls of Crenshaw's store on U.S. Highway 221, just outside of Cold Point. Fish, fox, deer, and ducks are arranged throughout the Lawrence country store that caters to those just passing through and folk out for a day of fishing or turkey hunting. But there's one creature that's not stuffed and mounted in the little roadside shop. Yet it's the Cold Point creature. The latest in Palmetto State non-human upright walking enigma, the lizard man of 1989. You might say I've had, 75 people in the past 3 days come in here and ask about it, said Claudette Hughes, 35, a clerk in Crenshaw's store. Miss Hughes keeps a small cupboard sign propped up on the counter when her boss is not around that reads, "No, we have not seen any creatures other than our regular customers. The nuts are coming out of the woodwork," she said, adding that one man came over the weekend from Georgia, dressed up like a member of the SWAT team. As a local comes into the store yesterday afternoon to pay for a few gallons of gasoline, Miss Hughes quips with a grin. "The creature hasn't bit you yet?" "Nope," the man replies. Miss Hughes said she's not one to believe in monsters, but she's sure that those claiming to have seen the reputable hairy, grayish-black giant saw something. Martha Tolson, 57, of Lawrence, was the first to report seeing the creature back in April off of Indian Mound Road. She was driving to her job in Clinton at about 5:30 in the morning. "I slowed down at first, but when I saw how big and tall it was, I took off," she said. I just went by and it just kind of turned and went back into the woods. Mrs. Tolson said she told her friends at work about the creature, and they all just laughed. Her husband dismissed it as a stray cow or a bull that had wandered at the road's edge. It wasn't until she was driving home from church with a friend a couple of months later that she learned she was not the only person who had seen something. Daisy Derrick's niece, Arlene McCall, is another of the about 9 Lauren County residents claiming to have seen the beast. Miss Derrick, 55, of Lawrence, insists her niece is not a fibber. Mrs. McCall wasn't available to comment. Mrs. Derrick, a local artist, designed 100 t-shirts bearing her rendering of the creature, based on descriptions from her niece and others who allegedly had seen it. The black-on-white shirt says, "The Cold Point Creature," and are selling for $10 in the Crenshaw store. They said it doesn't look like a bear, Miss Derrick says. So it's gotta look like a person gorilla or something. When this creature is sighted, it immediately turns and walks away, she said. The exact same thing happened when Miss McCall saw it lingering on the shoulder of Indian Mound Road. Weekend reports of the monster brought real-life Ghostbusters Mike McCurry and Gene Taylor to Cold Point from Asheville yesterday, searching for footprints and any other evidence of the creature. We're down here trying to get a story on it and see if we can make a connection between it and the lizard man, said McCurry, referring to the large reptilian creature reportedly seen by several people last summer near Scape Ore Swamp in Bishopville, a small town in Lee County. We've noted a lot of similarities, McCurry says. As soon as the publicity started, they announced that they're starting to sell t-shirts just like this one. You've got 2 small towns that look like they could use a boost. You've got to know all aspects of it, he continued. McCurry and Taylor featured their first piece of paranormal in the new Asheville publication called Carolina Senior Citizen, a monthly newspaper. The story tells of a supposed haunted old Calvary Episcopalian church in Fletcher, North Carolina. We came down here to see if we could find a footprint. One footprint would clear up the whole bear thing, he said, referring to speculation that the creature may be a roaming black bear. Miss Hughes jokingly said she'd like to see the beast added to the mounted menagerie of Crenshaw's store. We're going to get stuffing him when we catch him, and then I'm going to make a t-shirt saying, "I stuffed the Cold Point Creature." Alright guys, I'm pretty sure you guys can hear that my throat is kind of messed up today. I don't know what is going on. My eyes are really hot. I wanted to get something out to you guys. I actually had something planned for today, but the interview that I had fell through. Her throat is sore as well, and she really didn't feel good to do the interview. So I just wanted to get something out to you guys. I do have a announcement, but a surprise announcement. Thursday, I am going to be interviewing a person who has a lot of clout and pull in the crypto world, and I'm excited about it, and I'm going to keep it a surprise. This is the only mention that I will make until Thursday. Once again, I apologize for how off I was tonight in reading and sharing these encounters with you, but like I said, I had to get something out to you guys, otherwise I feel like just a big jerk. Anyway, guys, thanks for everything, and have a good night.